Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I am Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. How's it going, everyone?
What it go?
Woo! Today, we shed some tears for the infamous action crime series Crying Freeman. Will they be tears of pain, joy, or sorrow? Time will tell. Crying Freeman is based on a Japanese manga series written by Kazuo Koike and illustrated by Ryoichi Ikigami. The story was adapted into an anime by Toei Animation and released from 88 to 94. It has also been adapted into 3 live-action films, 2 based in China, Hong Kong, and a French-Canadian production in English. The first 5 episodes of Crying Freeman were dubbed into English by Streamline Pictures, we've covered a ton of their stuff, and released on VHS from January of 94 through February of 95. And it took until 2004 for the 6th and final episode to see release in the West. And it was actually, they pulled the original Streamline cast back to dub that last episode. So I thought that was pretty cool on their part. And I just, what to say about Crying Freeman? So Crying Freeman, it follows a Japanese assassin who's like hypnotized and trained by the Chinese mafia to serve as the ultimate hitman, right? And his body is covered in a ridiculously huge tattoo, and he cries a lot. He cries whenever he kills someone.
Bloody whiner.
It's like, Crying Freeman. So the setup's pretty interesting, and I remember when I first grabbed this, I didn't buy it. I think I must have borrowed it from somebody. I can't remember, but it was I think it was about 94 that we picked this up. I didn't buy it. I've never bought this before. It was on loan, but I only ever saw the first episode. I didn't even know there were more until we got together to watch this again.
Same.
So I never finished it until now, and I have all the questions.
I think we all have questions.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're about to go what you call the off.
Yeah, it's all right. So let's go ahead.
Can I pose a question?
Go for it.
Go for it.
You remember when we were talking about Macross Plus, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you remember your wonderful elevator pitch that you had for that.
Yeah.
I think we should all go around and do an elevator pitch and see where we land.
An elevator pitch for Crying Freeman. All right.
Do this.
I'm game. Let's play. Who wants to go first?
Brian pitched it. It's his idea.
Oh well, I'm saving mine for last. We'll go with the lovely lady, Vicar.
But sure, fine. I'll go first. Japanese pottery maker gets kidnapped, becomes an assassin, and somehow, starting from the lowest possible, rank, ends up becoming leader and bangs all the women.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna go with world-class Japanese assassin who kills everyone naked.
Kung fu from to your toes. That's the only thing that I can say.
Now that's a tagline for the DVD right there.
That's the elevator pitch. Is if you want to watch Crying Freeman, it's kung fu from your to your toes. That's pretty much all that it was.
I gotta admit that wins.
That's a good one.
I gotta admit, get me on the elevator. Let's do this.
All right.
Top floor.
Your turn, Brian.
I was actually going to say the polyamorous gangster that somehow only has shadows from the waist down.
He has a black hole where his should be.
No, everybody. Everybody.
You can only see if you're worthy of seeing.
Oh
Yeah.
man, boy, it's a really tough one to
Look,
talk about, isn't it? So I didn't
no,
hate
no.
this actually. I found it entertaining.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm gonna
wasn't
say
bored. I was confused, but I was not bored.
I'm going to say words that have never ever been said by me, and Vic and Rick may pass out when I say these words. The nudity was too much for me.
If there was,
And denouncing nudity.
if there was ever a case to
And
be
I mean,
made,
Brian's favorite was Bayasan.
if there was ever a case to be made for too much nudity, this anime absolutely wins. There's too much nudity in this.
I don't
There's
know,
too much
I mean,
unneeded
They had a
nudity.
requirement that you had to be nude to fight, no matter what.
Not always. Sometimes he was in his underwear. Sometimes he was in a costume. It's like,
He took
really?
off his shoes. He took off his shoes to cut people. I don't understand why the need
You know
to
what?
use his toes. Like it was
I can't
toe
hold
knife.
this knife correctly until I put it
Between
between my big toe.
my prehensile toes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's inspiration for Nightcrawler,
I just gotta say, I would hate to be his tattoo artist.
dude.
Because that tattoo went straight into his crack.
Oh
into the-
yeah.
The black void, his nether regions. So yeah, to touch on what Vic said earlier, this give anybody who's never seen this a little bit. Yo is the assassin character, and he's a Japanese potter who is captured, kidnapped, hypnotized, and instantly becomes the world's greatest assassin.
Second, we got Go-Go's first.
Yeah, acupuncture.
Yeah, via acupuncture. Yeah. Because we all know that potters are naturally the greatest martial artists with the most incredible physiques, and have the muscle memory to become the world's most legendary assassins. That's
And lover.
and lover,
And lover.
yes, and lover.
Well, see, though, here's the thing: is how he went from virgin to like sex god in 3 episodes. I don't know what he took or what was going on there.
Here's
Wow.
so. All right, now
No, but
Saying, I
To
want
be
some
fair-
Freeman cologne.
here we go. So this first episode, Aimu, it's spelled Emu, and I know that's not how it's pronounced. She witnesses Yo doing his assassination thing, and then she knows that because she's seen him. Dumb walks right up to her, is like, "Hello, I am Yo." Like, oh, cool, awesome. That's world's greatest assassin. Perfect. And then,
After killing somebody,
right, and then she knows she's fitting to die, and her
knows it.
and her one request is, listen, before I die, I really want you to take my virginity. I've never known the touch of a man. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm a virgin too. And look, man,
And
I'm in my mid 40s, and there's one thing I know: virgin sex is never good. it's
No, it's not.
so.
It's a lot of fumbling.
When these two,
Yes, there's fumbling. There's pinching in places.
yeah,
there's
you
there's
squeeze
no where you think you're going. with
squeezing
that,
too
you know, that
hard.
type of
No, it's just, it should have been a hot mess. And-
but two virgins going at it.
Yeah, no,
That
it's a
was-
mess.
Everything you were saying was just with one virgin. But with two virgins, that's like, do I stick this here?
Somebody would have gotten hit in the belly button first go.
just
that
like,
would have been.
man.
And this was the 80s, so there was no internet.
So I take a lot of issue with the prowess of Yo in bed at the time. Of course, I may not know the difference, I guess, but yeah, that was I laughed out
But-
loud when that dropped.
Okay, so and then a dude gets stabbed in the back of the head. How does he still have like motor function, ability?
Very,
to
very little
see?
brain.
That's first thing I wrote is like he is still shooting and talking
Yeah, there's
and
a lot of
walking.
there's a lot of that in this series. It's not just this kill. And now we're going to probably compare this to Golgo 13 a lot, I imagine, because it's
I
nearest.
imagine.
We watched that assassin film, and to comparably, the kills. So he has a different way of killing, right? Golgo uses guns
Guns.
and
Distance
and Yo uses toe knives.
Oh, toe knives and licks.
Toe
Pretty
knives
much.
and that's yeah.
but he did use a gun at the very beginning.
Yes.
I would like to say I have yet to be able to kill somebody with a lick. I don't know.
defeat them.
Yeah, but you'll turn their murderous intentions and
right into love.
make them less muscly and more slender.
I just
It's weird.
so there's this series. So this series came out in the 80s, and it came out in between 80s and 90s, and to say it's sort of its time is pretty accurate. It's the bill
With the
of
exception
sale.
of episode 4.
Well, the bill of sale for this it's tricky because as we were watching it, I was trying to think, who is this show for? And teenager was the best I could come up with. Because I couldn't find anything about it that was particularly substantial enough to, I don't know, to be compelling. It was.
I mean, it wasn't deep at all.
No, it's about as deep as a kiddie pool in the desert. There's not a lot to this. It
felt like it was Skinemax, and you have somehow dropped like Jean-Claude Van Damme into the lead, and you know, they never showed anything heavy.
Yeah.
But
it's never so graphic that it's extreme, not sexually. It's also never so violent that it is.
Yep.
Especially in episode 2 where they did weird censoring on weapon penetration.
So trying to determine who this was for was something I wrote a note in about halfway through the series, and that was my question. It was like, I don't know who the market was, short of teenagers.
It
right?
was me. No, it was me. I was the market. It was me.
Well,
Crying
I mean,
Freeman. Yeah.
as a teenager, sure, right? Because as a teenager, it didn't take much. Animated and women swooning over the dude. I didn't care what the plot was, but looking at it now, trying to decide who this was for, thematically, there's a lot there. Like they could have done a lot more with, the whole concept of criminal organizations and relationships and the nature of love and the costs of power and true power and what it is. And there's a lot when you're dealing with crime dramas, even crime action films. There's a lot you can unpack with the structure of these things, and none of that is in this. None of that is
anything.
I'm just curious how the leader of an organization is the only person doing the work.
Valid question. So here's the thing, and we got to go forward a little bit with this. Yo is not the leader. Yo is an abductee who becomes their chief assassin, and yet by the very beginning of episode 2, he is suddenly in charge.
He is suddenly promoted and married and everything.
The heir. Yeah.
The characters that in the first episode are going to kill him, Mama Tiger, beating the crap out of him with her tiny on their armed nuclear submarine that the 108 Dragons just happens to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Prior to naming myself, I was like, huh? What?
Every criminal organization needs their own tactical nuclear submarine. It's just like a prerequisite.
Like, I can't. How? Like, how much money do you think goes into just procuring a submarine?
Well, and
probably so much to the point that they can only afford one assassin to actually work.
Who knows that they actually bought it? They could have just walked up one day and was like, "That's mine," and
the owner.
Sure. I mean, yeah. obviously I take issue with this. I feel like there's who the writer Kazuo. He just didn't. Maybe he was younger when he wrote it. Maybe he just didn't want to do the legwork. But I feel like just a short amount. I know it was the 80s, but I feel like just the tiniest amount of research,
Effort.
just the tiniest amount, and he would have realized the submarine was a very bad idea.
The yacht would have just been just leave it at the yacht. Call it a day.
So yeah, it is what it is.
And
So
missiles.
they have armaments. They are basically like a small terrorist organization.
That's what they are. They're not a Japanese crime organization.
No, they are not. They are.
They're not. They're Chinese.
They're Chinese.
Yeah, it's a Chinese assassination organization.
And you know the thing about it is,
they just go around getting rid of people.
I don't understand how they chose Yo out of all the people they could have chose in China.
Yeah.
It's because he got a girlfriend. That's what it was. Nobody else had a girlfriend.
That was the skill.
He got a girlfriend.
It wasn't an arranged marriage. He picked, and because he picked, he qualified.
And like we're basically saying
that's the only thing that I could think. Well, it's just the fact that during their wedding ceremony, Grandma Fu decided to show off her tattoos. Just like, you have to do it just like this. And boom.
Did not need that. Did not need that.
No, not only did she take off her tattoo, she arched backwards.
Of
right?
all,
like, look,
of all the nudity in this series,
and
6 hours,
leg
6 hours
on the hip. Oh,
did
God.
not need that. Mama Tiger is like a 5'2", 800-year-old woman.
And
to get
your grandma. Look at your grandma. Put tattoos on her.
Full
and then
body.
Strip her down. That's what we had to deal with.
Full body Yakuza style tattooing. It was a lot.
Yakuza style tattoo in China.
Yeah, but they're a Chinese organization. So now so that's something I actually wrote down, because in episode 2, and episode 1 is we're trying to jump around a little bit here, but in episode 2 he becomes the leader of the 108 Dragons, and one of the characters attempts to assassinate him. That was episode 2, right?
Yeah.
His piranha teeth.
Right. So, and of course his name is Uranus, which was great.
You mean Count Lee from Vampire Hunter D?
So he attempts to assassinate him, and the reason he attempts to assassinate him is because the other character, Mercury, his code name.
Oh, that's right. It was Mercury that was Count Lee.
Right. He has like an intense hatred towards the Japanese, which I dug that point, but that was the only time it was ever really brought up, was that, a lot of the Chinese have a ridiculous amount of hatred towards the Japanese for all the atrocities that were inflicted upon their families and their ancestors during the World Wars and before. So there's a lot of animosity between the Chinese towards from the Chinese towards the Japanese because of all the war crimes that were committed. And I feel like that is something that, if they would have leaned into that a little bit more, how this Japanese guy is running a Chinese organization, like, it could have been a very dramatic and important plot point. And as soon as they started, I was like, oh, cool. And then it was over. Like, nope, we're done with that. We're not going to touch that.
And you know what?
Fu was like, you should get over it. It's okay. Be zen. He did. That's what he did, right?
Yeah.
With Dog Ear Giant, he sat there and said, you should get over it. It's cool.
Yeah.
He's zen.
Yeah.
And then gave him a Japanese wife.
Yeah. Right.
So both the head of the Chinese crime syndicate is now Japanese.
Right. Yeah, and he gets a Chinese name, so it makes it all better. Anyway, I feel like that was it got glossed over so fast, and it's a shame because I thought that was so interesting. But episode 2 introduces what has to be the most interesting character in Baya-san, who is so interesting, for lack of a better word.
It reminded me of, what is it? Is it John Candy's character in Spaceballs?
God, Barf?
Yeah, just the hair. Like, she's an awesome character. I loved her personality throughout the whole. She brightened up a lot of pieces of the anime where I was confused. I just couldn't get over the fact that the way they did her hair made
Like
her
these
look like a
puppies.
dog.
Yeah, like shaggy dog puppy ears. And
yeah, that's why I
and
said I was
just
like, it just brought me back to Spaceballs. I was like, what is happening?
Not to mention the fact that she towered over everyone.
like it was anime scale. Like she was 12 feet tall. And she suffered from the same ailment everybody else in the series had, and that was clothing.
Yes.
Or
Yes,
lack
with
Yeah,
thereof.
with the love of thongs. That was one that I mean,
She is just at first I thought, well, this is an interesting.
Just the fact that everyone has to get naked to fight, just why?
It's everybody, right? It's not just him. Bayasan has to be naked, and his wife. Okay, so now we're going back up because again, this episode is going to be all over the place. There's just too much to cover. They're two virgins and they get it on, and all of a sudden, Master Assassin, has a ridiculous amount of faith in this virgin he just banged. And he's all like, she's not going to turn me in. I have complete faith in her. I'm like, you do? You just met her. Like, seriously? And by the end of things, the timid little painter girl is essentially a nudist. Like, they plot
assassin.
They plot their...
Does she really kill anybody?
Not in the first one.
She only killed the crazy guy when she cut off the hand and the head.
Oh,
in
like episode 4. But she does... Yeah, I don't... No. In episode 5 or 6, she comes in and she's like slashing people up like Ninja Gaiden. But yeah, she's...
Because she found a possessed sword.
Yeah, all right. So that's another thing. So this story starts very rooted in like pseudo modern Chinese Japanese aesthetic, and it's a rooted in reality kind of thing. Even though we're talking about somebody being brainwashed with acupuncture, it's still very much rooted. Like the kills are, like it's not supernatural, and it's not science fiction. It's just like a sort of modern and an attempt at realism. And then right around, I think it's episode 3, she finds a magic sword.
And forget it.
And then we're now in Magic Town. But Magic Demon Sword is a sexist. And then Magic Demon Sword suddenly not so sexist.
As long as she's naked.
As long as she's,
So still kind of sexist, but
Still, yes. It's like you have no value until your are out.
So basically, in terms of Harvey Weinstein.
The sword goes, I will not teach you how to fight. And then it goes, okay, let's fight.
Yeah, so now we're good.
You won me over. You're good.
Right.
You know what? We're being hard, but I can honestly say I've done a lot for a pair of so maybe I need to get off a high horse and just...
Well, the part that got me was when during that episode she said, I will take care of the bad guys. Don't worry, let me do it. And then she gets naked and she does a sword dance and nobody dies.
Nobody because
dies.
He rides in on a hand glider.
Yes.
And then everybody celebrates him. And I'm like, so multiple questions about this scene. So it's a question of point. She's got the the demon blade, and she's doing this little sword dance like she's gonna start chopping people up. I fully expected heads to start flying.
Right.
And all of a sudden,
blood everywhere.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, is riding in on his dragon kite.
In underwear.
In
his underwear.
The tiger is calling the dragon.
The tiger's calling the dragon thing, right? And he lands, and then everybody's like, "That's the leader of the 108. That's the Freeman." And then everybody starts cheering. So I have 2 questions about this. Is they knew who he was, but they didn't know who his wife was? And how did they know who he was if he's the leader of an elite secret criminal organization? Like everybody in Hong Kong just knew him by face.
Seriously, we have to say that this is one of those Sylvia from Bubblegum Crisis where everybody knew who she was.
There was no secret identity. It was just identity.
It's just infamy. And I think
by the 5th or 6th episode, it's like, hey, that's not what's his face on the rope. It's Freeman. It's like, so apparently, eventually, everyone knows who he is.
Everyone just knows who he is. Yeah. So
Batman, worst kept secret.
He said, that's his face on a rope. what was the rope attached to? But a plane.
They did the Batman thing before Batman did the Batman thing.
What
They
was
did
with the knife in
the knife in the
That's the one thing that I never understood. Yeah, there was that one episode where he's flying and the weird snake girl, that one always dropped. That one
because he
always
stabbed her
got
straight
me.
in the heart through the.
All right,
Stabbed her. He grabbed one in a little.
He was checking to see which one he wanted to stab.
Boom, bonk, gonk, and then
All right.
and then stabbed her in the other. And
So that
then
was
pushed her off the cliff.
episode 5, and that character I had to write down. I wrote note. Her name is Nina, and she was like, for the artists out there, she was like a Patrick Nagel painting as an anime character. For those of you who don't know, Patrick Nagel, he did the art, like very famous pop artist from the 80s. The Duran Duran, the Rio cover, like that style of art, that's his thing. And she looked like that. Like she looked like a character right out of his stuff. And she was the thirstiest woman I ever seen.
Oh.
She was gonna taxidermy him and make him make him a real doll. I mean, that was basically. She's like, I would just taxidermy you, and you'll be my real doll for life. That is pretty much.
Not to mention, she had the same type of origin story as Eva.
Right. Yeah. So
what happens when he records the people that he lets them see kill him?
It's the cologne.
So yeah, she's crazy. I wrote a note probably a few times in here, but it said the women in this series are so ridiculously thirsty, it is insane, and she is their queen, and some graphic stabbing up in this, especially in that episode. Like lots of get stabbed in this one, at least 2, right? Because the very first episode is a character who I just did not understand at all. Kimie, and she's the wife of a crime lord
who was dead,
and
who got killed,
who's dead. Right? So then she's naked and she like.
Hey, stop it. She wore pants.
Let's not forget that she also banged the cop during the
She blackmails the cop and then bangs the cop, then gets him like through the magic of gets him to be her slave basically, and she never puts a blouse on the rest of the episode. She's just in a helicopter with the out, jumps out the helicopter, ready to fight, like here to kill Freeman, no top on, just.
She fully embraces if they're flawless, you can go braless. That's basically she embraced that statement. If they're flawless, you can go braless. She went braless and topless and was basically.
Please make sure you insert this slow cap.
This is you know what? There you go. This series, this is free the anime. That's what this is.
Hey, look, I can say that statement right there, I feel is so educational. I love the order that we're doing this because it feels like everything is building upon it. And God damn it, I've never heard that. If it is flawless, you can go braless.
I literally wrote down. I said, does Kimmy even own a blouse? Because I just no.
I don't think she does.
I don't know.
No, you just saw her in Yukata, and then she's.
And even then, it was already open. Now she does reappear later on in episode 5 or 6, and she's wearing a yukata again. And this time she keeps it on, so good for her. Oh wait, and then she doesn't. It was 4. It was episode 4. Everybody's favorite, episode 4. She's supposed to bang Freeman to unleash his secrets.
Pretty much, he was gonna brainwash him by banging him, and it backfired. But I have one comment about episode 4. One comment.
Go ahead. What's your one comment about episode 4? I have a lot.
Why is it that episode 4 looks like it was animated in the late 60s, early 70s by a bunch of art students that were just learning to draw?
So here is the skinny on episode 4. It's not skinny so much as just a note that I saw in the opening credits. The character design for episode 4 was done by one of my personal favorites, Satoshi Urashihara. So if you rewatch that episode, which I don't recommend, you can see his DNA in the character designs. animation style, art direction, I don't know who the f- did that one. Because it went, this series, for every episode except 4, is really beautifully animated. It's standard 90s anime cell shaded style artwork, but the characters are rendered in such a way it's very unique. None of this standard anime tropes with the big eyes and the everything it's a very visually unique series. But
Except episode 4, which is trash.
It's like they were on the budget and they just said, we're just not going to bother with cells. Let's just do everything in pencil and color it and see how that goes. And it's so jarringly different from a visual standpoint that it hurt it. And it's a shame because I love Satoshi's work. Brilliant.
Amazing stuff, but
brilliant artist. But paired with
one of those things that you don't put on your resume. No, I did not.
Yeah. No. Paired with the animation direction of episode 4, I don't know what the hell they were doing. Now, to be fair, episodes 5 and 6, it was a different animation team as well, different from 1 through 3. So yeah, episodes 5 and 6 were done by a completely different animation team as well, but 5 and 6 felt the same as 1 through 3. Like they lived in the same style.
Maybe that's why 4 was shorter too.
4 was, I feel like 4 was like their budget toss. It was like, man, we just don't have budget for another episode right now.
It's like, we can only afford 20 minutes. Well, you need to make it an hour. Go.
Yeah, and it really jarring.
Well, then they also wanted to bring back the girlfriend with the crazy sai knife, the one that.
Oh, you talk about Bugnug?
What?
No, you're probably talking about. What's her name, right? Bugnug?
Or Dark Eyes.
Bugnug. So,
Bugnug translates to anteater.
Right. So Bugnug is her name. So when Bugnug came out, all right. So that was when Bugnug came out.
Yeah,
let's talk about Bugnug.
You look scary.
Bugnug scared the out of me. I was like,
you look like this monstrous hulk of a character.
To get the Bugnug, we had to kill 2 other people.
Yeah, 2.
And to get to kill those people, Yo had to become a goddamn hairstylist.
Yes,
and bang another woman.
Yes.
Bugnug is the general of an African crime syndicate, and
Horn of Africa.
And Bugnug is, I just want to say, a Wakandan. Like,
yeah,
she's just like mountain of a woman, Wakandan warrior.
Like her muscles had muscles.
Rocking a fro that is just magically delicious, and
stood there in all her nude glory with
she magically appeared nude.
Because again, I wasn't even sure she owned clothes at the time. Because again, if you're gonna kill somebody in this series, you're got to be out. It's like a rule. Even if you're a dude, you got to show them. They get into a hell of a fight.
And then she's incapacitated by the lick. That's
oh my god! So he's losing, right? He's losing, but then he manages to pin her and defeats her in. He defeats her by threatening to bite off her.
Lick and yeah.
That's it. That's how he does it. And then he stands up, drips some blood on her, and she's all like, "You are my god."
No. Drips some blood into her mouth.
Right, yeah, and then she's done.
And then she's done.
And then he passes out.
Yeah.
Yes, and she saves his life.
I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
So good.
And then after that,
she no longer looks like this huge hulk of a character.
Right.
She like splendors out.
Yeah, she lost muscle mass.
She stands on the edge of a cliff, naked, with her demon sai.
Yeah.
In her superhero pose.
In a pose, yes. Blade leg. Demon sai. Pledging herself as Yo's woman.
Even though Yo has like 5 women.
It don't matter. Yeah. Because
all the women belong to Yo.
He's at 3 now, right?
He explains in episode 4 that the nature of his relationship with his wife is true love, love in its purest form. And I'm like, Yo, you just want to keep chicks. It's all right. You can admit it.
Yeah.
That's why I said. That's why Mike said he was polyamorous.
He absolutely is.
Yep.
It's like just own it. Don't be like trying to, it's the nature of real. I want you to live on, and they'll say, oh no, you just want to bang chicks.
Like, don't make an excuse. If you're enjoying it, just admit it.
And then he went straight Vin Diesel on them and talking about the whole power of family in episode 6.
Seriously.
Blah 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 family, blah 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 family,
Um,
family, family, blah blah blah
There's no
family.
family. His wife is sterilized. There was no.
So
And obviously, those two are the
Let's
only
do
ones in the
this.
entire organization because no one else does anything.
no nepotism. This. The 108 has a hard stance on nepotism, right? Nobody in the family can have kids, and no child can take over, except the people who tell him about that rule secretly had kids. So, I don't know. Like,
A lot of dudes I say not as good.
Yeah. So it sounds like just like any other employer.
and of course, their kid is Bayasan, so we're just not going to get into that.
Well, their grandchick kid is Bayasan.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. That's her grandkid is Bayasan. Who? All right. So
You know
I
what? I gotta talk about bias.
I do too. I want to talk about Bayasan. I want to talk about the nature of the relationship between Bayasan, Aimu, and Yo. Because the next time we see Bayasan after they pull her ass off the edge of that building is a very interesting relationship she suddenly instantly has with the two people she was fit to kill 5 minutes earlier.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
You got the lick and the massages. I'm telling you.
I just
Kung fu from the to your toes. That's
And it's
basically
all-
it is.
it's all like when I see my brother, I think one way, and she grabs one. see my sister, I feel another way, and she's grabbing the other. I'm like, what? You should not. There just should be no grabbing when you're thinking about your siblings. It should just don't do that. It is
And they just smile indulgently at her, like, oh,
right,
she's
like. So there's something that this show did with those characters, with Mama Tiger and her husband, whose name it doesn't matter, and then and Bayasan, is they take characters who are these like imposing characters. In episode 1, Mama Tiger is ready to kill Yo, and she's supposed to be like the tough little old that runs the show, and then they relegate these characters to basically a comic relief after that. And
Like the happy grandparents, when their grandkids come over.
Right, and it was very jarring for me to have that play out that way, because I like characters to be consistent. I like character development to make some kind of sense, and those characters were like completely different characters from that one bit to the very next. Bayasan was always a whiny mountain of a woman who's basically a toddler, but she went from an imposing problem to a ancestral sister. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing for me.
right hand
Someone's step
woman.
fantasy.
Yeah, right hand. Suddenly they're ace in the hole. Like, this is my human shield and sister, Bayasan. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Maybe can I also say I appreciated that they didn't shy away from her nudity as well.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. If we're gonna get Gam's new, you better put bias on the block as well.
And that is the only. And episode 2 is the only time I think you ever see Bayasan in clothes. I'm pretty sure she's naked the rest of the series.
Well, when combat's involved, yes, the clothes come off just like everyone else.
There was
It's true,
one.
we're invading an island. We're in wetsuits. Land on the island, wetsuits come off. It's like,
Right? Exactly.
Why?
Is that the scene? So is that the one where they're the military guys? Is
Yeah,
that
episode
episode?
5.
So yeah, that's I distinctly I wrote down. It's like, why is she suddenly naked? Like, there's no she's
She
they're-
cuts
they're-
her wetsuit and this smoke comes out. I don't know what the smoke is. And I'm like, either she had really bad gas while she was swimming under the water.
She's been letting them rip inside the wetsuit, and they had to come off.
She was just like, it's not coming out anyway, and she just stabs it, and there you go. But I do have one thing that I did not like. Why did they have to kill Ko?
Yeah. I actually wrote that down as that's bull. Ko's death.
Yeah.
They didn't have to, and didn't have to. They did it, and
They had to make room for bias on.
there you go. Really,
You know what? They didn't want to draw him naked. That's probably what it was. But you
That's
know
all
what?
for
Back to
my
his
shit.
death. That one chick that killed him, essentially.
Yeah.
How is it? She's wearing an electric bodysuit. So
Electric bodysuit.
her
Yeah.
and Yo are in the water.
Yeah.
Yo
Okay.
has her. They're holding each other. She's electrocuting him, but how is she not electrocuted?
Just a little
It's
bit of
essentially just a one-piece bikini in the water.
just a and to comment to expand on that comment. How was Ko dumb enough to stab the armor? Woman only has armor from her to her, and the part of her body he decides to drive a knife into is the armor. He could have got her in the head, the neck, the arm, like anywhere, the inner thigh,
else
cut
wasn't
the
covered in
carotid
armor.
artery. No, I'm gonna go straight for the body armor.
Yes. Any other time he was stabbing people between the eyes,
Right.
in the ear, behind the head.
He was essentially the perfect sidekick.
Yeah, he punched some
You know,
dude
someone
so his eye
gets dead
popped
before they
out.
hurt Yo. He'd take care of it, and now
I am
he's an
gonna
idiot.
I am gonna say this about this, and this is the note I wrote down, and it's that this anime has the one and only instance of literal whitewashing.
Oh yeah, the spray tan from
Oh
hell.
God!
The spray
It
tan from hell.
literally washes herself white so she can go kill Yo. I could not.
I saw that. I was like, I don't know what to say. How? So no one on the entire face of this planet knew.
It's just
And I think we broke Brian.
I think Brian got broke.
the assassin literally puts cream on her body in the shower to wash herself white. It is astonishing, and it stays on through her death. She dies a white woman. She does
With
not-
blonde hair.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I could not. First I thought, well, this is kind of like racist, like they're like going this route, and I thought that was the case. But then they introduce black characters, albeit African caricatures of people, but they introduce like Bugnug, and they keep her around. I mean, they her. I think she's like the only character that gets in the whole series.
Y'all broke me. Yeah, y'all broke me. My hands have been up so high in this. What? And we haven't even gotten to touch on the magic that is episode 6.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about episodes.
Because I'm just saying that even after all we talk about here and the just absurdity of it all, it doesn't even compare to the absurdity that we're going to get to episode 6. So I think we need to finish giving the foundation of what we're doing right now. Please.
Yo is a multi-talented individual. He's a potter, an assassin. He's suddenly an incredible tattoo artist. He's a hairdresser. He's a delivery man.
Bellboy.
He is all these things.
That's right. He's the one that gave that tattooed his wife, right?
Yeah, he's the one that puts the tigers on Amu's body. And I'm just like, of course he is. Because why would they have trained tattoo artists on staff for this kind of job?
Paying for the damn submarine.
You know, they call themselves the 108 or the 108. I think there's only 4 of them. I think there's 108 of them.
Well, in episode 4, you see, all these hundreds of people waiting on either side. I'm guessing they're all accountants.
I feel like there's only 4. I don't think there's any more dragons.
It's amazing when you actually have the boss actually doing the work.
All the work. He does.
The 108 dragons, and it should be 107 dragons and 1 tiger. Can we talk about the whole how everybody else had different tattoos as well?
Yeah, everybody's got full body tattoos. Everybody, like it don't matter. Like, I think my favorite of it was Nina, the psycho Nagel drawing that wanted to stuff him with her snake.
Oh.
Because that was just Like I thought Koime or Koimi, whatever her name was, in the first one, who just like didn't know what tops were. I thought that was as much for the extreme nudity as you were gonna like people who were just completely unabashedly unaware of the fact that they were naked. And Nina took that to the next level. Like she took her outfit off the second she met Yo. Just, like got out,
it's like, and it's off.
You're Yo. Zip. Like, okay. How are you? And hello to you too.
Didn't she land?
Stayed that way.
She landed.
Stayed that way for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
She landed from a hand grinder, right?
Lands, gets out. There's Yo. Zip out.
Zip.
And then you're like, there's a tattoo on this woman. Because at this point, you're like, well, of course there's a tattoo on this woman. There's a tattoo on everybody. And then you find out it's that she's an obsessive fan. And that's why she's got the tattoo.
Crazy
and she
fangirl.
Stays that way. Like you said, Lynette, stays that way until she dies.
She rubs herself all over every part of Yo.
His elbow, his...
like,
not to mention
everywhere.
The fact that...
Like, she went down on him and he's not interested, and I don't know what kind of
love has to be involved.
I know you can be a trooper, dude, but there are some times you just should not.
I loved when she's trying to get the first time she's got him laying down and she's like, oh, I'm gonna the out of you, like this is gonna be the greatest time, and she reaches down and he's not, and she smacks him and the music gets all dramatic, like it's like holy why are you not like what the calm down, lady, if I wasn't before I'm not gonna be now. Like it's just,
he had a headache.
Everything ramped up like like hyper dramatic right there because he couldn't get didn't have on. Oh my god, this series.
But that wasn't the first woman he had sex with in that series. He also had sex with the kidnap the
daughter, the second daughter.
The second daughter of the kidnap.
Yeah.
Episode 5. The one with the awesome Phoenix tattoo on her back.
She had a tattoo too, because absolutely. If anything,
of which, let me say, the best animation in the entire series was actually the rain gutter in episode 5 at the very beginning. That water was so fluid and it was coming out of the gutter. It was like, oh, hopefully the rest of the episode is this fluid, and it wasn't.
I appreciate that. You're not wrong. Wow. So Brian, I feel like we can go to episode 6 now. I feel like we can get there.
All of the world building that we have been doing in all these episodes, right?
Yeah.
First, we have had again, we've had organizations from all over. We've had the African organizations. Then we had they actually called them the Rambos.
Yeah. They did.
I was like, oh, you guys are not even shying away from it.
Not even trying to hide it.
We have a whole bunch of Rambos here. Okay, y'all should be paid some type of copyright. Make sure. Let's just go past that. So we have the Americans, and then we have the two countries that probably would be better allies. See, the most communists, where Russia is not going to get started.
Yeah. The Russian connection. It's what I think it's called that on the DVD. But yeah, the episode 6. My only 2 notes for episode 6, because at this point every other note from every other episode applies to episode 6. Episode 6 was we had to have Russians. Like we couldn't get through this international, show of criminals and their without doing Russians. We had to have Russians, at least one of these.
Bring in the Russian mafia.
The only other thing I wrote down for this episode was this is, I think, the only episode where Yo keeps his clothes on the entire episode. He does not reveal his tattoo. He kills everyone in a suit.
Well, now we know what he thinks of the Russians.
There you go. No dignity. And the Russians, so that character, the female, who I had hoped for something way more than what they gave. I thought when they introduced her and she was all out in a parka with her freaking like guns, I was like, oh, she's gonna be a bad. Like we're dealing with
Right.
Ivan Drago of this series, right? They called her the Eskimo, which made me chuckle a little.
A lot. Chuckle a lot.
The pause at that piece.
But then she basically amounted to a toy for the whole episode. Her only purpose was to bang the Japanese guy.
It was into gunplay, which
I felt that they were trying to make the biggest comparison between Yo and his wife.
You think that's what they were going for? I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
We have one as well. We have another Japanese guy who likes to kill people with bladed weapons, and we're going to give him a girl too, and they're going to be. Did we even see Yo's wife in that episode?
no.
no, I don't think
so.
I don't think she was in it at all. Yeah, so she's this Russian Eskimo. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's what they were trying to go for, and like this truncated version of it that was turned into an anime, like sort of removed that aspect of it. But if it was, they represented it. They represented it horribly, and it
Terrible.
did not read to me as a parallel to his relationship with his wife. And if it was, then his wife should have been in it because it should have been more obvious.
More about love and family.
It's all about family. Yeah, episode 6 was rough for me. Did they? And maybe I missed it, but did they explain who the girl was?
Apparently, she was from the girl that was exactly what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
The girl from his. There's so much they pick up and say we're going. You know what?
Nah.
Never mind.
We're good. Nah. We're not even gonna get him naked for this one. We're good.
Like the whole thing about trying to kill the Yakuza bosses.
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
And they're framing him. They're framing him for killing all these people.
They're framing Freeman for killing the Yakuza bosses.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm okay.
To what end?
Yeah. To what end? To start a war between the Yakuza and the 108? Because that's...
Because the only thing that's going to happen is basically Freeman's going to go and kill the Yakuza. So...
Well, Freeman, chances are he's going to walk in naked and kill everyone. Except
Exactly.
in episode 6.
So then episode 6 subverts those expectations by having him not do that, having him only kill the 2 characters and being fully clothed the entire time.
Sorry. The highest skill cap is 2 characters and 3,000.
Touché. Yes.
And 3,000 Russian soldiers
Right.
that are coming over on a boat, and we see a missile
From their tactical nuclear submarine. They fire on this ship and kill 3,000 Russian soldiers. Man.
Good stuff.
This is a series that wanted to be like Golgo 13. It wanted to be like James Bond level spy thriller, but with a spin of like Asian Yakuza crime syndicate kind of stuff. It wanted to be a lot of things, but what it really was Skinamax, period. Like that's basically. I will say, episode 1, I enjoyed it when I first watched it. I was a teenager.
The best
so
episode.
Of course I loved episode 1 when I watched it. But even like now watching it again and reflecting on it, episode 1 was my favorite episode because the promise of an interesting story was there.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then
And after all these years, it's still there, but 2 through 6 just kicks you right in the groin.
Right. It's almost better if you never see episodes 2 through 6 and you just watch 1 and you fanfic your way through the rest of it. Because, yeah, the promise is there for an interesting crime syndicate kind of story, but it never delivers on it for me.
No.
And it's a shame.
It tries to by saying,
Yeah.
you know, we
Oh.
have true love. I will always come when you call, blah, 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 blah. But either way, he's like banging his way through every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Every girl he meets, she's dropping trowel. I mean, that's pretty much all that happens. She just goes, Freeman, boom.
Turns traitor most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
And the wife is just sitting on the submarine.
I think Snake Lady broke him.
Yeah, you think Nina broke him? It's possible.
I think Nina broke him, and it was like, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. And when I say do this, I still don't mind killing people and crying about it, but I don't want to show my wonderful tattoos. I don't think I want to do that
I
anymore.
feel self-conscious about it now. I don't want to.
Yeah. Oh, the and then the biggest slap in the face at the end of episode 6 is the woman that he saves. I don't even think he knew that she was there when he went to go kill.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think she was, and it's a wasted plot point because you never really know who this girl is. Is she his sister? Is she his former girlfriend? Is she his former wife? Who is she? It doesn't matter, and they're not going to tell you. And
then she doesn't even recognize him.
yeah, she doesn't know who he is.
Right? I thought it was like an elementary school buddy.
Is that who it was?
Pictures or high school buddy.
Right. Like, so it showed them in their youth. So I was like, oh, maybe it's an old girlfriend. Or maybe it's like an old, like, maybe it's like a sister or something. You know, like I thought a lot of things, but it never gets answered. So I'm just like, well, that was.
Like you said, she doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
She gets her hair cut by a sword, but you know, that's dramatic right there. Like he cut her hair and then she's unconscious.
Yeah. We got to wrap up on this one. I think we've subsequently about it for long enough here.
Did we though?
Did we? I feel like we kind of did a little.
Did we though?
Kinda yes, kinda no.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird. It's all confused.
Yeah, I think that this one left me feeling a lot of things. A lot of things, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll give you my final thoughts and I'll hand it over to you guys. I feel like this anime did not age well. I feel like it was designed for my 16, 17-year-old brain, and that's where it probably should have stayed. In revisiting it, my 16, 17-year-old sex drive it had its interest peaked, but my old brain was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we watching here? If you're gonna rewatch it, if you ever plan on watching it, I recommend episode 1. Episode 1 is fine as a world building kind of storytelling element that leaves you in an interesting place, but it's never gonna pay off for you. I think every episode after that is just gonna leave you wanting more of episode 1 and wondering what the is going on for the rest of the series. Some of the kills I want to be impressed by, but I wasn't. It just wasn't. So yeah, take that as what you will. Like, it's episode 1 is probably worth it. In fact, I will flip and say this: you might be better off watching the 1995 live action version starring Mark Dacascos, because it retells episode 1 in film, and it does so in, I want to argue, a more realistic way because it's live action. So they scale back some of the anime craziness and they tell a pretty compelling love story assassin crossover thing in that film. And I feel like the movie is successful as a live action adaptation of episode 1, and I am glad that they never even bothered to try and do the rest of them. So maybe just skip this. Is my 2 cents. Skip this and watch the movie instead. Lynette, what are your final thoughts on Crying Freeman?
It is an object of its time. You can definitely tell that. I probably would not have watched it had it not been because of this. So thank you, and kind of not thank you at the same time.
Like, thank you and curse you.
You know, so just do a little bit of both there. You know, thank you and
Yeah.
I hate you all at once. You know, just a little bit. But
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah, I mean, I agree. Episode 1, I was like, yes, let's get into this. And then episode 2, I totally did the what the hell, and then it just stayed throughout the whole.
Yeah, I don't think it ever recovers itself. It is a product of its time. It came out during the 80s and 90s anime boom. Of course, Streamline Pictures was all too happy to bring it over to the States because of what it is. Shock value alone is enough to make it stand out over contemporary American releases. So they were all too happy to do it. But yeah, it is very much a product of its time. Vic, what are your final thoughts? Crying Freeman.
So I would say I agree with what everyone is saying. Yes, if you're gonna force yourself to watch it, just stop after episode 1. It is also definitely a product of its time, with the exception of episode 4, which feels like it was a product from the late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, there was never any payoff at all. It's like it could have been great. And then at the very beginning of episode 2, it just went, huh? And it just kept on making you ask more questions as to why would anyone do that, or why is this happening this way? Why is everyone naked all the time? It's like, seriously, if you're fighting, clothes offer some protection against stabby things.
Oh, it's yeah.
Not a whole lot, but it's better than just being naked and getting stabbed in the chest multiple times. Just saying.
Yeah.
But God, it's one of those that, first, just like a lot of others, I watched the first episode in the 90s and I didn't know anything else existed until recently. But it was so disappointing.
I agree. Yeah. The series features some impressive killing, but mostly some impressively stupid criminals. Brian, what are your final thoughts on Crying Freeman?
I would actually say part 2 is actually necessary as well. I think you can leave with 1 and 2. Let it go. Let it end with Code being buried at sea. Everything else is just, it's too absurd. The absurdity of it is just, it's what the but I would also say that it's something to be said about I gotta say it this way. So when you look at a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, right? You see he's getting his whooped, and it's all about the roundhouse kicks that connect with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the attacks. So he will be kicked 1, 4. I mean, it's numerous. But if you watch a Jackie Chan type film, right? It's all about the attacks that don't get through and how they block in there.
Sure.
I think the difference between, say, Gogo 13 and Crying Freeman is that Gogo is all about the blocks and the tactics that he has to use to actually make his kills work, as opposed to just a free fall. Nothing seems difficult for him in these. None of the kills, and I'm not emotionally involved in any of the kills because they come so easy for him. So I have to say that you can leave it at 1 and 2 and right off the sunset.
I can see that. 2 does offer a little more expansion on the lore. You could probably get away with leaving it there. I definitely.
It expands the lore, but it also starts expanding the absurdity.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Leave it right there. Right there.
It's a fine line.
I mean, it's not like 1 doesn't have any absurd moments himself.
True.
No. It's just 2 starts the crazy stuff, and it's like, we need a super cut of episode 2 and then call it a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for Crying Freeman, guys. I wish we had nicer things to say about it. I don't know. I remembered it differently, I guess. So revisiting
it just drives me nuts because I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. But it also like I did hate it. Like I kind of hated it.
You hated the wasted potential in the story.
I think that's what it is.
To all Chinese crime families that are listening to this, I loved it.
Yeah.
Please don't kill me. I loved it. I love what you guys are doing. And then good luck with your submarine.
Yes. If you are a Chinese criminal syndicate and you own a tactical nuclear submarine, good on you. Good on you. Great work there, guys. It's just
and
you do you.
I'll cry before you want to kill them. You can kill everybody else on the panel. I will cry. Leave me the alone.
Yeah, right. The second you walk into the room, I'm bawling. I'm done.
I'm balling. I got what you need, buddy. I got it. I can do this.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Well, that's going to be our show for today. So until next time, keep calm and keep your damn clothes on.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections, or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.